What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Joel Friday TV podcast. I am Joel Friday. Bienvenido. Welcome to the show. Amazing stuff. It is Thursday, my last day of the week. Do me a favor, hit that like button, smack it, lay the smack down on like, subscribe, and share button. Tell your peoples about the show so we can get the subscribers up and the message out. It's happening and it's working. Let's keep it going. Amazing stuff. Topics to be covered. Who are you? We're going to get into it. We're going to make sense of it. Oh, and we're going to get free. Amazing stuff. It is a talk show, so you can call in at 888-775-3773 if you want to talk about anything. Anything you want to talk about. Past shows, today's show, whatever. We can argue, we can disagree, or we can agree and fellowship. I'm here for it all in the name of Jesus. So you can call in at 888-775-3773. And if for whatever reason you cannot call in, but you still have a question or comment that you got to get it out, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JoelFridayTV and send your question or comment there, or just support the show. The link is in the description. You do have that option, or you can go directly to the live YouTube chat and hit the super chat button and send your question or comment there. And I will read them live on air. You know, you guys like my shirt? Representing Hassan, thank God. Walking on water, Hassan. This is Hassan's merch. I'm repping today. I am repping. And I'm twinning with somebody today as well. Nobody knows who, and nobody will know. But somebody in the office is my twin. That's funny. But shout out to Instagram. What's up, Instagram? We here, we live. And shout out to YouTube. Amazing stuff. What's up, chat? Shout to my mod squad. Holding it down. My mod squad holding it down. Amazing stuff. What are you guys talking about? Let me see. Let me see what Instagram is talking about here. IG. Nice. The mod squad in the building, holding it down. Shout out Zenny, Chris, C-Sal, Hake, Nick, JLP. And more might be added to the squad soon. Who knows? A shout out to the mod squad. Amazing stuff. J-Rod said, what's up, Joel? What's up, J-Rod? What's up, Otzi? Nice. Gray Bridgewater with the super chat out the gate. Appreciate it, Gray. He says, I am a collection of identities I've collected throughout my lifetime. In reality, I am nothing. Interesting. He's responding to today's topic, who are you? Interesting. We're going to get into that, but I appreciate your take on that. I am nothing, Gray Bridgewater says. Right on, Gray. I believe that's the Gray that calls in as well. Gray is always, if it's the same Gray, he always has some good input to put on the topics, and I appreciate it. So right on, Gray. So I was watching Theo Von. By the way, I love Theo Von. Some of you guys who don't know who Theo Von is a comedian / podcast host. He has his own podcast, very popular. And he's a very funny guy, and he grew up in Louisiana. And he's just funny to me. He's just very funny, but he's also very down-to-earth type of guy. Like, he's in the entertainment world, but you could tell, like, he's just a down-to-earth type of guy. So I like Theo Von a lot. So every once in a while, I'll catch, like, one of his podcasts. And I was watching one with a guy named Dax. I forgot his last name. He's also a comedian. He's married to that one girl from that one Forgetting Sarah Marshall, the white girl that the main character was married to at first. I forgot her real name in real life. Kristen. No, not Kristen Bell. That's the girl from Twilight. Something Bell. Chat, help me out. You guys know what I'm talking about? Her name is something Bell, and she's from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. She plays the first wife. Dax Shepard is his name. Kristen Bell. Oh, her name is Kristen. Nice. So I was right. Thank you, Chris. Coming through. Right on. Thank you, Chris. Dax Shepard. And he was interviewing, Theo Von was interviewing Dax Shepard, and Dax Shepard said something that was very interesting that I want to talk about. C-Sal coming in hot out the gate with a super chat says, C-Sal with the Bible thump. I am a child of God, a citizen of heaven. That's my only identity. And the Father, I and the Father are one. Right on, C-Sal. See, Mod Squad. I got some smart people on the mod squad. Right on, C-Sal. Appreciate it. Let me see here. So, I want to play a clip because what he said on that show was so interesting to me that, like, he says, and it had nothing to do with, like, anything. Like, I wasn't even watching the show to try to get, like, some podcast material. That wasn't a thing. It's just like it was like a light, funny show that they had. But he said something that was so deep to me, and it shaped my whole show. So I'm going to play that. And I want you guys to let me know what you think right here. Watch.
I believe it really does. It kind of in my mind.
Because I'm afraid of those guys. I mean, if you really boil down to what it is, it's like I was afraid of them as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm still afraid of them. So I walk into that gas station like, you're going to have your hands full, my friend.
Yeah,
Pick someone else.
Yeah, even though you're 6'2" and jacked.
I know, but I feel 8 years old.
Yeah. Dude, it's so funny. Sometimes you always feel 8 years old, don't you?
Oh, I'm always. I have to actively remind myself I'm not. It's like a mantra.
Yeah.
I have to go through a checklist. Like, okay, you're 49. You got money. You're not tiny.
Right.
You've been in a quadrillion fights. Like, what are you fucking afraid of? Did you have stepdads?
So, just to break down what I got from it is that he was talking about how he has to remind himself as a grown adult that he's no longer that little boy inside that's afraid and stuff like that. And every time that fear comes up, he questions himself like, what's the problem here? I have money. I'm tall. I'm fit. I've been in a bunch of fights. Why do I have to remind myself that I still feel like an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old and I still have this fear? That was so deep to me because growing up, I felt a similar thing. Growing up, I always felt like weak, right? And obviously a lot of it goes back to not having like my father in the home and stuff like that, and being raised by my mother and then my older sister, you know what I mean? So having women in the home solely and not having a father around. But I had my cousins and my uncle that I seen often, and they kind of helped, which was nice. So shout out to cousin and uncle, and shout out to mom and sis too. By the way, it's my sister's birthday today. So if she's watching, happy birthday, sister. But anyway, but I always felt this like that weakness. And I always used to think like in my older years, my adult years, I always think like, man, if I just would have gotten more fights, I would have just been tougher. I would have felt tougher. And I used to think like, man, I need to join jujitsu. I need to do all these things, right? And I used to think that these things, and I've been in fights, and that's not a brag thing, because how old are we? But, I played sports all my life from literally since I was 4 to like 18. And then I started dancing full time. So, like, I've been active. I play football most of my life as well, and that's a very aggressive sport. So I did all these things, but I still was feeling this thing, feeling exactly what Dax was saying, like this, not like this little boy inside. And I thought all those things should have made me tougher, or still wanting other things to make me tougher. So then at one point in my life, like I was saying, I wanted to join jujitsu. I wanted to do that. And part of the reason as well that I wanted to become a cop was for that reason too. Like, man, this is gonna toughen me up even more, right? And then it's like I'm starting to realize as I'm growing in learning myself, knowing God, what true strength really means. And it's so not what the world teaches. And I realized that and this is so crazy, because I used to look at people growing up and be afraid of them. Like I used to look at UFC fighters or people who had aggressive nature. And I would see them and have a fear of those people. Especially boxers, professional boxers, oh, what would I ever do if I got in a fight with that guy? You know what I mean? Have this view of them as this they're the status for toughness. You know what I mean? And that's what most people think. So then I started to learn, and as I'm growing up, I'm starting to learn the truth. I'm that's so interesting. And I want to play you a clip. Because it doesn't, one more clip, and then and we'll move on. But you can be the toughest fighter in the world, the strongest, the alpha of all alpha boxers, and toughest people, knock people out, highest record for most knockouts, the most aggressive person in the world, the most feared person in the world. And I'm making these stats up, right? These have nothing to do with this next person I'm about to play. But you can have all this, to be the champion, be the best of the best, and still have complete fear and feel like a boy, just like Dax said. I'm going to play you a clip that proves exactly that. Here we go.
Gotta ask you, when you was going into them early fights, right? When you first started coming up, and you walk into the ring, what did you feel part of you nervous, tense, but the other part you gonna kill somebody?
No, I'm not nervous, I'm scared. I'm scared.
Yeah.
Because I'm a scary guy. Because I've been picked on in my life. I've been abused all my life. People did anything they wanted to me, so I have natural fear of not being safe.
Yeah.
That's who I am, natural. It's in my life, that's who I am. So now I got it with this weird self-confidence and violence and stuff. So now I'm sadistic, because I'm afraid I'm gonna get hurt.
Yes.
I'm an animal now.
There it is right there, folks. Mike Tyson, listen, I'm not even going to make this stat up. This stat is real. The most feared person at the time, right? The most feared person in his time probably was Mike Tyson. In the Mike Tyson era, he was probably one of the most, if not the most, feared person on the entire planet. Meanwhile, during that time, he was completely scared. That is so deep to me. Maybe not to anybody else, but that's so deep to me. Because all that stuff don't mean nothing. And I used to think that. I honestly used to think that these things, whether it be money, even if it's unconscious, even if it's subconscious, right? Money, status, people liking me, being able to beat anybody up, sticking my chest out, letting people know that they better not mess with me. Like, I always desired that. And especially growing up, I always wanted to be like a Mike Tyson. I didn't really like watch boxing, so he wasn't like an idol. I didn't really know too much about his life, but I always wanted to be like a person like Mike Tyson. Just a tough, but not even knowing the truth. But now getting to know myself and understanding who I am and knowing God, I realized that the truth and the confidence and the toughness, the true strength is from within, right? And when you know yourself, it's the craziest thing. When you know yourself, and as you're getting to know yourself more and you know God and you know that you're with him, your foundation is strong. Like you're standing on firm ground. And that brings a confidence, not even intentional, not even like you're trying to be confident, right? It just brings a confidence about you that people revere. And you're not even trying to be that way. And you mean well. You know what I mean? You're not even trying to be tough, and you don't even want to be tough. Especially when you start understanding. But it's just because what people see is they see God. They see God within. And God is strength. And they see that strength. They can see it in your eye. They can see it in your spirit. Especially if you truly have it, right? And that's what people are looking for. That's what people want. And that's what people thought Mike Tyson had. Because he can knock somebody out. But at one point in time, at one point in history, I guarantee you that people were afraid of Christians. People were afraid of Christians, right? When Christians were like the real deal. Because they had to have been. Because there's an energy that radiates from them that other people saw God. They saw God. They saw Almighty. Even if it didn't matter how tall, short, skinny, whatever you were, they saw Almighty in you. And people revere that. They revere that, and they can't help but be subject to it. And that's okay. And you don't got to be a fighter. And not that these things aren't like nice tools to know and have, right? Because you never know. You never know, right? It's good to like, have some training and stuff like that. But that's not like the root. That's not the root of where your confidence comes from. And it's like, it reminds me of the story in the Bible where it talks about David. And I think it was David and Goliath, right? And the army was afraid of Goliath. They were afraid of Goliath, and Goliath was on the side of, according to the Bible, Goliath was on the side of evil, right? Like the non-believers. We'll just say it like that, the non-believers, and the believers, the army of the believers, were like, this man is huge, because Goliath was known to be like this tall, big giant, right? And the side of the believers were like, he's too big. He is too, we ain't fighting off of them. And David, who wasn't even a part of the army, grew up as a shepherd, right? I think he was something like that. But he was he was facing up against, and this is like a boy, he was like 14 at the time, but he grew up until 14, like facing off, protecting the sheep and facing bears and lions and like wild animals and all that stuff. He was facing off against those things. So that was his training, right? But even with that training, he knew God. He knew God within. And because he knew God within, God used this 14-year-old, which is a different time. 14 now, could then, Lord have mercy. But he used this 14-year-old to, I think he walked up. I don't know what happened, but he went up to the army and said, "What are you guys afraid of?" I thought they don't have God. They're non-believers. I'm paraphrasing, right? They're non-believers. We're believers. Why are you guys afraid? And everybody laughing at him like, shut up, little boy. Go sit down. Go sit down somewhere. And he's like, are you serious? And I forgot what happened, but somehow they believed him and they tried to give him like this suit of armor. Like, you know what? Then let's suit you up then. If you're so strong and confident, let's suit you up. So they try to suit him up and they try to put him in all this gear, like this big old heavy gear, the chest plate, the helmet, like this warrior gladiator costume, right? That all the warriors wear. And David's like, I'm uncomfortable. This don't fit on me. I can't wear this. This is not me. And he took it all off. And he just had him and his little slingshot. Goliath pulls up and said, "What's up? Where are you guys at? I'm here. Let's do it." And all the other army, the army of God, the people of God were like, "What are we gonna do?" And David looked at them like, "Are you serious? Hold up. Hold my backpack." He took his backpack off. I don't know if he had a backpack. He took his backpack off and walked up to Goliath, like, "Say something." And Goliath was like, "Something." And David was like, and pulled the slingshot, bow, right in the forehead. Boom. Took Goliath out. If Goliath fell like this, bow, hit the floor. And all the army was like, and they start cheering as if they did something. We defeated them. And they were like, okay. And then Goliath's army start running away, right? Because they're like, what this little 14-year-old, he got magic in his slingshot. We can't do this. So they start running. And the army of God looked at David different. But more of the story is, it was God. It was God. And even the believers saw that it was God working through David. And that's what people fear. It's not the slingshot. It's not the tough guy. People fear the truth, the real deal. And of course, they're going to do that false fear and fear like the big guy, the tough guy. You know what I'm saying? Because that looks like it's the scary thing. But no, that's not the scary thing. You better be afraid of God and God's people. That's who you better be afraid of. And sometimes it's through the little 14-year-old kid. So, and then I'm going to get to some calls right now. I'm going to get some call 888. There's lines open, 888-775-3773. You can call in and we can talk. But it's about knowing yourself. When you know yourself and you're honest with yourself, you become more free and you start to know God. You know God by knowing yourself. And people are like, that sounds so selfish. It sounds so arrogant. Try it and see. Try it and see. And if I'm wrong, then tell me, Joel, you're wrong. Get to know if you want to know God, you have to get to know yourself. That's why the Christians in the world today, most Christians, or a lot of Christians, will preach and quote the Bible and give all these sermons, but they don't really know God like that. And like JLP says, they know about God, and that's true, but they don't know God because they don't know themselves. And that's why when you question them, they overreact or they do all these things. You can't know God without knowing yourself. Because when you get to know yourself, you see that God is in you. Your true nature, the true you, is a piece of God, is a reflection of God. And when you get to know yourself, you see that. And you get to know yourself, you also see the things that are not you, the things that you don't like that you do or don't want to do that come from the ego, and you see that as well. And when you're honest about it, you're set free from the chains of it. Doesn't mean you stop doing it right away, but you're free in being honest. It's a weird thing and it's hard to explain. But honesty is repentance, and that's the first step, and that changes everything. But when you know yourself, you know God. And then when you know yourself, you know not only God's with you, but you know you're with him. And when you know you're with him, that's when a confidence starts coming. That's when you start trusting in making the right decisions and making the right moves. And you don't rely on other people's voice and other people's words and another hero and another pastor and all these things. Because you trust that you're doing the right thing and you know what's right. That's confidence. That's God within. That's a child of God. That's knowing God. So I got something of Aaron C. And after I get to these calls, I got something from Aaron C. Because Aaron C was talking about an interesting situation that he was in, a dating situation. And I thought about it. I went home and I thought about it. I was like, that was interesting what he said. And I wanted to speak on it. Because I don't think I was able to because of time last time. So let me get some calls and then we'll get to that. Let me go to Pete out of Alaska. Pete, welcome to the show. You're on air. What time is it over there?
Oh, an hour earlier than you got.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're on point today, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just called to make a quick comment on Mike Tyson being so feared. Even he feared himself, you know?
Right.
But then listening while I was on hold, I think there is still a fear of a strong Christian because there wouldn't be such a fight to be trying to tear it down.
That's a good point.
I think that fear is still prevalent. That's the right word. And
good point.
On that Dax and Theo Vaughn discussion, I had watched that too, and I sure would like both of them guys, but Theo particularly, to get a chance to be on your guys' show one way or another. You know, that'd be way too cool for him, and I mean your guys' show altogether. But
we've been looking into it.
Yeah, sometimes I see him just trying to figure himself out, and you guys got a nice set of keys to do that, you know.
Yeah, man.
And
I think that,
and it is important to look at oneself, and it's one of the harder things to do when you always can point your finger to pin it on somebody else, having a fall guy, you know. Some people even need the fall guy around, so they always got somebody to say it wasn't me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think the same thing about Theo Vaughn. And I've always felt like, you know, he's like open enough to try to learn how to, you know, just be a better person. And I see that kind of innocence, in him. So we're working on it. We're working on some stuff. So hopefully in the future we can make it happen. But I appreciate it, Pete. Thanks for the call.
Yep.
Call me again.
All right, man. Will do.
All right. Nice. Let me go to Alex out of Tennessee. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? How you doing, man?
All is well. How are you?
All is well.
Nice.
I was going to ask you what, when you were talking about, wanting to, get tough and all this stuff, like what made you want to do that? Want to get tougher and all these kinds of things? Like,
I was lacking knowing God. I didn't know God. I didn't really know myself. I didn't have guidance growing up. I didn't have my father around to guide me in what was true and right. And I just didn't know what real confidence or real stability meant at the time. So I was looking for it in the world. And I thought that people like Tyson found it, or like people who were angry, they had some type of toughness, but it's just not true.
yeah, it's interesting. I've heard Jesse say about how at a certain, like, there's not much you can do with like kids in terms of their egos. Like, they kind of need their egos to a certain extent to identify with certain things, and you can't really like talk to them about that kind of stuff until they're older. There's a certain kind of threshold, and I wonder if, like, it's interesting when I think about how, kind of reflecting on, you have this kind of identification that you assume as a kid with your surroundings.
Yeah.
In order to sort of distinguish yourself from other things. You have a name. You have all these that create a separation between you and other things, and you sort of. I don't think there's any. It doesn't seem like there's any way around that. And then at a certain point, that becomes a problem. It starts to manifest as
What do you mean
some
exactly?
sort of difficulty.
I'm not sure what
Like,
you mean.
it starts to manifest as a difficulty because, like, I think we work with dualities in our lives as we grow.
Yeah.
And like we say, well, if you're gonna see yourself as a victim of a bully or whatever, and I got to get tougher.
Right.
You're because you've identified as a victim. Well, now you see others as predators. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Your
that's a good
prey.
point. That's a
And
good
so
point.
you decide, well, I need to be more like a predator instead of being prey.
Yeah.
And then now you find yourself being a predator, but really you're still prey on the inside. And the devil, since now you are a devil at that point, because you're separated by taking on an identity. And because now you've assumed this identity, the thing that the devil wants the least is to be exposed.
Yeah.
Right? So it makes sense that Tyson would be afraid getting into these fights because he doesn't want to be exposed for, the coward that he sees in himself.
Yeah.
The weak person that he sees.
Yeah.
That he knows is in there, but he has to be perceived as a monster. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how great point, Alex. And that's how he was accepted as well. He finally got the acceptance he was looking for with being bullied growing up, like he said, according to him, right? That he was bullied growing up. And he now became a fighter, and now he could be the bully, like you're saying, the duality thing. But he knows that he still feels like that scared little boy. But now, guess what? He has this acceptance of the world. And the acceptance now puts this pressure on him to continue to be the monster that he knows that he feels he is within. But now he's on the other side of the coin of aggression, which is still coming from fear and weakness. So it's
interesting too when you talking about David and Goliath, because that the army's perception of Goliath was different from David's. David just saw him as another man,
right?
And it wasn't like he was no more terrifying to him than a bear or something like that. It was just like, okay, well, I deal with this
exactly
and as it is, as opposed to assuming an identity and then defeating yourself before you've even engaged in what you're about to.
And all that is, and what that is that believing the feeling about the thought. So the thought was that, Goliath was this huge thing, but the feeling attached to fear was this idea that big means strong, big means strength. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's what's so interesting about the Bible is that there's so many things in there that, whether you believe the story as a statement of historical fact, or whether you understand it from a sort of a symbolic kind of way, there's a lot of depth to all these stories that are more profound than just the actual, the tale itself in a literal sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I appreciate it, Alex. Good points that you're making. I think that and then I gotta move the calls here, but
of course.
And I think that it's like Satan is playing a game, but then he's saying, "Well, I'm Satan here, but I'm God here." So the duality thing, and what you're saying is that at one point you feel weak, and I felt this. You feel weak. So then, and then Satan's like, okay, well, you know that this weakness is evil, but now you become strong by the false version of strong by becoming a boxer or standing up for yourself. Now you're angry. And then Satan says, that's God, but they're both the same exact thing. So perfect point that you made about that.
Yeah. And just as a little tag on to that is that like that knowledge of good and evil is what causes the problem in the first place, because we work with dualities and how we operate in the world, but God is not a duality thing. It's a whole phenomenon. Like light, light is so we're supposed to be the light of the world and the salt of the earth. We're not supposed to have a dual nature.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Whole.
Yeah.
Complete.
Yeah. Right. Whole as opposed to divided. Yeah.
Interesting, man. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate it. Great points. Call me again.
All right. See you, man.
All right. Man, very deep. To me. Great points. Shout out to the Mod Squad. C-Sal out of Arizona has something she wants to say. Oh, wait. C-Sal, welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Hey, Joe.
How's it going?
Hey, this is an amazing topic.
Nice.
You reminded me, in the Bible, there's stories, book after book, everywhere in the Old Testament and in the New Testament too, but everywhere about Jehovah, about God telling his people, the people of Israel, telling them, don't take leaders, don't make leaders of anybody, don't have leaders to follow. Actually, the people of Israel said, hey, God, well, they told Samuel, I think, they said, we want to be like the other countries. We want to be like the other nations. We want a king. And I think it was the prophet Samuel. And so he went to God and he was like, I'm so sorry, God. They're asking you for a king. And God is like, don't worry about it, because today, with them asking you this, they haven't rejected you. They have rejected me. So God knew exactly what they were asking for, a king, a leader. And it was a direct rejection of God.
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of stories. I could go on and on, but there's a whole bunch of examples of God telling people, don't trust in your king. Don't trust in your men of war.
Right.
Don't trust in your fast horses.
Yeah.
Don't trust in your numbers and your money and everything.
Yeah.
So it's super fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's important.
No, it's crazy. And what that's doing directly, to bring context as well, is that what that's doing that's directly saying that you're not a leader. You need a leader. Because you aren't enough and you're not looking within. And if you are looking for without, then it just shows that it's like a lazy way of finding the right path, finding God. So I can totally understand and see why God was like, what the, so to speak, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to say that.
I appreciate it, Cecil, and keep holding it down in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
All right, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
Great point. Great point. No leaders. What? That's so luckily growing up, I never thought about leader. I'm grateful for that. I always felt like, and I don't know where that came, God, but I never thought to myself, like, I need a leader. I never even thought to myself I needed a mentor. Mentors are good, right? But I never even thought that either. Like, I was always just like trying to learn, I was just curious kid and just trying to figure things out on my own. And not because I want to get this ego high of figuring things out on my own, but just because it just felt right to do it that way. And a leader it's a lazy excuse. It's a lazy excuse. Is that somebody will get this country right. Somebody will get this world together. So let's appoint a strong person and get this world. It's a lazy way out. And yes, we got to vote, right? And stuff like that. But you should be that guy. You should be that guy. And that's why God said don't have no leader, because then you don't look within and realize you are the leader. You are God within. Jesus came and said, greater things. Greater things. Because Jesus had within him the Father. Within him was the Father, and the Father was performing all the miracles and had the power. And the same Father that was in Jesus is within us. So we have the power to do all things. All things. So, Valerie, first time caller out of California. Valerie, welcome to the show. You're on air.
Hi.
How's it going, Valerie?
It's going good. I just have a question for you because I'm a mother to 5 sons, and I'm trying to
5 of them?
My son. Yes, 5 boys.
Wow, hands are full.
I don't know what to do because my son is telling me he's being bullied at school. Like yesterday was his birthday, and some kid poured milk on his shoes at lunch, and I don't know what to do because I don't want to make the situation worse.
Yeah. But
I was calling for your advice on that.
That's a good question. So, explain the situation a little bit more to me. So how often do these kids pick on him?
I think it's at least a weekly basis because he'll tell me that they call him names, and he's saying like he's putting tissue in his ears while he's at school because he doesn't want to hear them.
Okay. Okay, my question is, have you went to the school and spoke about this?
Yeah, I did. I spoke to his teacher about it.
Okay.
And then I spoke with the vice principal as well.
And they didn't do anything?
They said they're going to do something.
And how long has this went on after they said they're going to do something?
It's been a couple of weeks.
Oh, okay, so this is recent.
It's recent, yes.
And and within these 2 weeks, have they still kept bullying him?
Yes.
Okay, they're probably not going to do anything. At this point, you have to look at self. And this is just my opinion, Valerie, and to realize that if you keep him in there, it's your fault. It's your and his father's fault. Reason why is because we can't expect the schools, and it's unfortunate because you hope you can put the trust in the schools, but we can't expect the schools to do their job and look out for our children. We have to do it. So if he's getting bullied and it's not changing and it's not stopping, then you should take him out. You shouldn't keep him in that school because some of these teachers and principals, they're not worried about it. There's so many kids in the school They're not worried about that stuff, and you don't want to keep your kid subject to that, especially if they're not going to do anything about it.
Okay.
But also, my last thing is that you want to also make sure that the father is helping him to learn how to be stable within himself, and not to be worried about what people say and all that stuff. And if they put the hands on him, then he should stick up for himself. But he should know not to be insecure, not to be affected by these bullies and things that they say, and to understand that these kids who are doing that are broken children who come from angry, broken parents in their home. So I would just encourage that you're teaching the son in these moments to how to properly deal with words and being offended and all those things. But take them out at the same time.
Okay. Thank you, Joel. I appreciate you.
Yeah, does that make sense though?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, Valerie. Anything else?
Mm-mm.
Right on. Call me. How have you heard? How'd you hear about the show?
Through JLP.
Nice, nice. So you check out you know the JLP network. Everybody on the network.
Yes.
Right on. Well, I appreciate it, Valerie. Call me again or give us an update on how it goes.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Nice. That used to happen to me too. Now that I think about it, that used to happen to me too. Sometimes I would deal with that, like bullying and stuff like that. But the thing is, I didn't know how to deal with it. And nobody really taught me how to deal with it. And I remember my mom used to tell me, just go out there and just face them. Just face them. And when she told me that, I did it. I used to always be afraid. And when I did it one time, it kind of worked, right? When the guy seen that I wasn't afraid. But a lot of the other times I was afraid, and it showed. And because of that, they started to pick on me more. But I just didn't know, for one, that it's within. It's not without. And it's important that kids know that us as parents, we're raising our kids to understand the truth about these things and how not to be offended, understand the spirit of things, understand that bully, quote unquote, is really a scared little boy. And us as parents should be like guiding our children in the way of truth and light by being an example first, but using these moments to come up as teachable moments to explain to them that the truth about the matter. And if a kid is getting bullied, sometimes, and I'm not encouraging anybody to like fight or anything, but sometimes when you stand up to the bully and you just stand your ground and you're not having this fear, then that's what gets them to stop. So anyway, Nick said daddy had 5 sons. He alpha enough, right? Right. But the dad should be telling the kid how to deal with these things. Don't take it personal. Don't worry about what they say. Now, if they become aggressive, then you deal with that, the best way that the parent sees fit. But you also don't want to have your kid around evil, other messed up little kids. But anyway, words can't bring you down. You are beautiful no matter what they say. Words can bring you down. That's right. No. That's right, Sean. Christina Aguilera. Let me say this last thing, and then I got to end. Aaron C. talked about, what if she makes more money than you? And I was like, man, such a good topic. What if she makes more money than you? And what if it comes, I think he was saying, what if it comes to a time where she starts to look at you and you're not making what she's making, and she starts to question? So deep. It's exactly what I was talking about today, is that forget the money, forget who's making more, who's making less, nothing. All that matters, the only thing that matters, and the only thing that's gonna assure that this is the woman you can see yourself in the future with, is if she can see the God in you. By first, you knowing the God is in you. Then if she can see that, then all the other money and stuff will never be a question, because she will be following the God in you. She will be following you, trusting that you're going to be able to lead her. If she's questioning money and all these things, she can't see. That's a blind person. And I've dealt with that, but I didn't understand it at the time. And because if she can't see the man in you, and even the potential of the man you're becoming, right? Because you don't have to be perfect yet. You can still be growing. If she can't see your heart and see the truth about you, let her go, because she's blind. She's blind, and you don't want a blind person. You don't even want to, other than an acquaintance, you don't want that around you. They got to be able to see the God in you. So forget the money and stuff. C-Sal said something in the chat, and I read it, and it's true. And by the way, C-Sal's married, and she has children. She said that I'm paraphrasing, but she said that if a woman is not willing to degrade, like downgrade her lifestyle because she sees a real man, then she's not the right one. Because a real woman, and she said it better, I messed it up, but a real woman will not worry about what she has and what she doesn't have, but she'll worry about her soul, her life, her spirit, trusting that she's going to be led by this man who is being led by God. And that will be important to her. Nothing else. So that's the truth. I didn't make it up. God made it up. So I got to end, though. Way out of time. American Anchor Baby's coming in. Don't miss his show. It's amazing. Thank you guys for tuning in. IG, Instagram, same thing. YouTube. Appreciate you guys. I got to end. I'll be back here on Monday. I'm not here tomorrow. I'm back here on Monday. Until next time, guys, I got to go. Much love. Bye.
So, here's what I recommend. I invite you to download my silent prayer, and I want you to start doing it. You just download it, get the points of